What's up, people? Welcome back. I'm sitting in the new Lude today. I'm still taking in the new interior because every instinct I got saying to gut it. But I shouldn't do that because it's mostly intact and it could get cleaned up and it'll grow on me, right? Plus I got tons of other things to do before I ever worry about this interior. I got to get my old engine and trans into this new Lude. I still don't have a name for it, by the way, but before I can do that, I got to get this old trans and CV axles out, and while I have everything out of there and the harness kind of tucked out of the way, I want to go ahead and take care of all the grease and everything that's built up over the last 24 years underneath here. I also got a list of things that I think we need to actually get this running that we should replace, and what we actually need to get it on the street, you know, because getting it running is one thing, but then there's could be plenty of other problems with this. I haven't taken that deep of a look at it, and that's what we're gonna do right now. There's only a few things left holding this transmission in here right now. We got the axles holding it, the shift linkage down there. We got to disconnect that. We got to disconnect that hose back there, and then pretty much that should be good to go. And then we will pressure wash. Well, I'll take out my hose and we'll clean out this engine bay and get that going. But right now I am going to disconnect the upper control arms and disconnect the CV axles. We'll go ahead and take off the axle nut there. That's 36 millimeter. But just remember that's pushed in on there. You just stick a little screwdriver in there, pry that out a little bit so that you don't have too much trouble. Let's go ahead and try and take that off real quick. Nice. Typically the best way to do it is by hitting the spindle. There we go. A few hard whacks and that thing will pop out. Now the spindle's loose there.
You gonna have that motor in there today?
Not today, no.
Come on now, you can be fast.
What you usually want to do is find a pin, something that you can just stick it right in there. Like if you have an air hammer, this is nice and easy. You just stick that thing in there, go brrr, no problem. Okay, so when it comes to getting my other motor and trans in here and getting this thing running, just to start with, what we need, we should replace the fuel filter because I have no idea how long this has actually been sitting. I just know it's been sitting quite a while. We don't know what the fuel's like, so we'll swap out that fuel filter. We're gonna need oil, we're gonna need transmission fluid, we're gonna need hydraulic fluid for the clutch. We need coolant. So that's just fluid based, what we need. And then besides that, I have no good slave cylinder. My slave cylinder is working on the dead Lude, but it is rusted beyond belief. I'm afraid to touch it, it might crumble. So I'm gonna replace that, and because the other slave cylinder that was on this trans, it's all like come apart and doesn't look good. I don't want to mess with it, so I'm just gonna get a new one. They're cheap enough, so that'll get replaced. And then besides that, I also need to get a rear main seal for my motor, because since I'm replacing the clutch, I got to replace that rear main seal. There's no point in replacing that clutch or doing anything like that unless I replace the rear main seal. And then that has to be done just to get this thing in here and started. After we get it running, to get it on the road, we got to replace these upper ball joints for certain on both sides. And then I'm also going to replace these tie rods, because even though they're pretty stiff, the little boot is all tore up and rotted through. So instead of hoping that lasts, I'm just going to go ahead and replace that too. And then sway bar links actually look really good, and bottom ball joints look fine. I have to swap the wheels from the old Prelude onto here. I know it won't make it look any better, but at least I don't have to worry about any issues. So besides all that stuff that I already pointed out to you, I was going through the trunk, finally emptied it out, and started going through all the parts that the guy said were in the trunk. And there's a distributor, here's all the box of hardware and a couple of the mounts, radiator assembly with the fans, more mounts, a belt, a plug wire, an intake, a starter. And I started looking around more, and I'm like, hold on, there's some stuff missing. This isn't everything. So good thing I have another Prelude, because I gotta rob that stuff to finish here. Mainly, the most important thing, I gotta steal the cross member that goes underneath. That's got like 3 inches of grease on it. I gotta clean that all up, and I'll throw that onto this new Lude, and it should be okay. But most of these parts I'll use. This radiator assembly and everything I will use. Those engine mounts and trans mounts aren't very good, so I'm gonna look into getting more mounts. So that's a part of the issue with getting it on the road, is I want to have good mounts on it before I go messing around. That distributor I'm actually going to use, because it looks real nice, and it actually doesn't look very old either. But yeah, so probably that distributor. I'll definitely reuse all the hardware and all that jazz, but I got to get new mounts, and I got to reuse a few parts from the dead Lude. But otherwise, I think I'm about done cleaning this thing up. I think the next time I'll see you, we'll start taking the motor out of the dead Lude, and I'll probably have a couple buddies over for that one.